Hello and welcome to this nighttime taste challenge. Really, I was just walking a half a mile out in the dark. Birds singing or anything, so it's still dark. Dawnbusters can't do that till the day's longer again, I guess. But I could wait, but then I don't want to miss the top of the hour news, 6 o'clock Central Time news. I have two bourbon products. And they're both sour mash bourbon products. This is 10 High Sour Mash America's Native Spirit bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. That's why I call it a bourbon product. This is not a true bourbon because true bourbon is not allowed to have natural flavoring. It can only have the grains. Okay, it says established 1879. No, 10 High came out in 1934. Still a long time ago, but 1879 is when Hiram Walker Distilling Company was founded, and Hiram Walker was purchased by Barton Distilling Company. It says right there, bottle, doesn't say made by, notice it said bottled by Barton Distilling. Then they in turn were bought by the Sazerac Company years ago, 2009. So there's who actually makes it. But anyway, it's at Walmart. It's cheap. It does sell pretty well. No serious bourbon enthusiasts fool around with 10 High. You know, they used to make 10 High Kentucky straight bourbon. Then it got, or some people say around 2009, got transformed into a blended bourbon. And I started seeing this, well, I call it the Eagle label. And I didn't know why they had an Eagle label and then the old label with Hiram Walker on it, a drawing of Hiram Walker with his leg up on a barrel. I thought it was the same product with two different labels. And then the Hiram Walker version disappeared. And now they just had this. But then now I realize it's two separate products. One was a blended bourbon or bourbon whiskey, a blend, and then bourbon with natural flavors. So technically, this would be called a distilled spirit specialty. No age statement is allowed on a distilled spirit specialty. And I don't know why they have that rule, but you'll never see an age statement. Okay. I have enough for maybe 2 taste challenges, I guess. They don't say anything about coloring at it, so I guess that is the natural color. Sazerac tends to be good about disclosure. Okay, Nelson's Green Brier handmade. I always laugh at that. Handmade in a factory. Whiskey, Tennessee whiskey, aged 2 years. Doesn't claim to be straight whiskey though, so I'm thinking it might have flavoring and coloring at it. Might. That would be allowed if you look at the rules carefully, but you know, I'm not gonna harp on it. But price point, yeah, this runs about $28.99 at Total Wine and More. I don't really see it in my town. I did find it in my town. I found this at Walmart for $10. And the reason they had it for $10, they were getting rid of it. And they never brought it back, and they don't have it now. Why would Walmart get rid of it? Same reason they got rid of Rolling Rock. Bad sales. Sales numbers weren't good. They're not going to keep a product that's lousy on the shelf. If it's a hot seller, yeah, they're going to keep it. That's their model. If it sells, it stays. If it doesn't sell, it goes. It's as simple as that. 10 High does sell, and you'll see it on the shelves in these big jug bottles. Some stores, maybe Walmart, it depends, will sell the regular 750 milliliter. That might vary store to store, but most of the Walmarts in Louisiana will have 10 High, for good or ill. So, appearance, the 10 High is amber gold, so it has some darkness to it. And Nelson's Green Brier is copper appearance. Now, Nelson's was started by descendants of the original Charles Nelson Distilling Company out there in Nashville, Tennessee, up there in Nashville. But then they got bought by Constellation Brands, a big company, used to make Richard's Wild Irish Rose. They sold that. They sold that to E&J Gallo. But these big companies do buy up the small ones because the small ones struggle. You know, they it's very expensive to get a distillery going, and it's a lot easier if they sell. They did keep the family guys around, the two, I think, cousins or brothers. They're like brand representatives, so they work for them. And they'll be called the founders. You know, they don't own it. They're no longer referred to as the owners. This just the founders of Nelson's Modern Distillery Company. Kind of like Colonel Sanders. Remember, Harlan Sanders was the face of Kentucky Fried Chicken, the founder, but he actually sold it to PepsiCo a long time ago. Too much good money available for him to pass it up. He was very elderly. In fact, he didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was 47 years old. It was a struggling little one place, one location, then it kept growing, and then it was a big enterprise. And when he was in his 80s, 85 years old, he sold it to PepsiCo, and he stayed till he was 90. All right, now Hiram Walker, he was in the business a long time too. I was reading about him. He had Canadian operations, U.S. operations. I don't think he was from either country. I think he was actually from Scotland or Ireland, somewhere like that. But his company stayed around as a company, but I do believe the family sold it a long time ago. But like I said, to Barton, and then they got sold. So if you're sensitive to companies getting bought out, yeah, don't get involved in the beer, wine, and liquor hobby because you're going to get your feelings hurt quite a bit because that happens all the time. All right, I'll show you the websites and then I'll turn the lamps on. No need to be in the dark. Well, this is Walmart's website. There is no 10 High website. There was a web page years ago, but Sazerac dropped it. Ingredients, grain, yeah, and natural flavoring, obviously. If you read the label. And we're talking about 27 cents for this big bottle, whereas it's $28.99 for the regular size bottle. What do they say about it? It is carefully distilled and matured in white barrels to create a smooth, distinctive bourbon. So yeah, it is a bourbon at the beginning. The classic flavors of American whiskey make 10 High fit for any occasion. Yeah, I don't know about a wedding, but maybe a wedding reception when they're guzzling it like a wedding gift. Maybe not. Probably not. 10 High bourbon whiskey is 80 proof. It's all in the bourbon whiskey, all right, and it's in the bourbon section at Walmart, but it's a distilled spirit specialty, bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. I'm sure most customers don't care, and nor do they ever notice that. This is not geared toward the discerning purchaser. Sazerac company manufacturer, comes in glass, it says, but it's a plastic bottle in this case. So that's not correct. It's a plastic bottle. It's called if you get the 750. Smooth and distinctive. Well, maybe about distinctive. But it does get a 4.7 out of 5. So people are 9.4. Here's a recent. Yes, it's cheap, but when you add cola, it really doesn't matter. My flavor is fine and not watered down. Okay, so they're telling you right there, they're adding cola to it. Straight whiskey at a very good price. Not straight whiskey either. So that's a misunderstanding of that purchaser. Valuable, low price, good taste, valuable. Smooth, nice and smooth. So recent ratings, or just three ratings. Telling you it's from the Sazerac company. I think there's a section here where they they'll give a comparison to other ones. Warning, maybe not, but where they'll have a comparison to other products. But anyway, yeah. Green Brier to show a nice photo at the barrel house, rick house with the rocks glass. It is interesting that they're focused on the rocks. Maybe not so great. Based on the exact family recipe first dreamed up by Charles Nelson in the late 1800s. This weeded Tennessee flowed through a bed of sugar maple charcoal and bottled at 91 proof. That's right. It's a weeded bourbon, weeded Tennessee whiskey, bourbon whiskey. Tennessee whiskey is a type of bourbon. Mostly corn, of course, and a lot of wheat and some rye malt. I'm sorry, barley malt. Excuse me, mistake. Herbie in India says, "What is a Kentucky whiskey? A whiskey made in Kentucky. That's all it is. Any form. It's up to you, but it's a whiskey made in Kentucky, obviously." Okay, so is 10 High going to make it in this challenge? No. And it's not going to be a challenge. It's going to be it's on the schedule. I'm doing it, but it's not going to be a challenge. I can't see a 80 proof beating a 91, and I can't see this thing with natural flavors competing, but I've been fooled before, so we go through it anyway. Yeah, smell like regular bourbon, sweet corn. I mean, they do tend to smell alike. I mean, I've got people just geared up on it, super fanboy about some of these brands, and then they'll let me smell it, and they're like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "It's good, you know," but in my mind, I'm thinking, smell like all the rest, you know, more or less. But, you know, I don't want to insult the people. This does smell like they got a little vanilla added. I mean, I'm not joking. Now, what could the natural flavor be? I don't know. I'm thinking vanilla, because bourbon on its own merits usually has like a little vanilla note from the oak, which is unusual, but yeah, it does smell like that. So I'm thinking on aroma, this is the Nelson's. That's the 10 High. But here we go. Let's see, just for the sake of it. Smells like bourbon. I mean, it tastes, you know, like bourbon. And actually, it tastes like there's a little strength to it. Maybe this isn't the 10 High. That's got me fooled right now. There's some strength. There's some oak. You get that sour mash, like that Lender's sour mash bagel aspect to it. I know Sazerac's known for putting out low-end stuff like this Ancient Age, which is Kentucky straight bourbon. Although there is an Ancient Age blended, or there was. I had a bottle, a black bottle, black label. It was okay. I bought it at Winn-Dixie. But it's gone from our market. I guess nobody was buying it. Now Benchmark, which is a low-end Kentucky straight bourbon. There's they make that one for Albertson stores. It's called Grant, something L Grant. They keep changing the label. The new label looks sharp. The label I have is kind of drab, but it's almost, it looks like it's the same as Ancient Age to me. I haven't tried it, but it's got the same exact specs. So I don't know. It could be some little minor change in it that makes it different, but I would say appreciably no. And it's the same price, $9.99. Of course, Sazerac puts out some definitely some high-end Taylor, Old Charter, Chinkapin oak, French oak. I haven't seen those around. Mongolian oak. They've got Blanton's, you know, people pay $100 for that stuff. I can find it for $80. But and they got mid-range, you know, mid-range, just Buffalo Trace, type of thing. But I guess they're making money at all the areas, the low, the mid, the high. Heaven Hill does the same thing, put out some really low end stuff. But then they'll turn around and put out Old Fitzgerald Bottle and Bond. Some of those Old Fitzgeralds will run you almost to $100. So they know what they're doing. They know how to manage the market. Okay, this has got to be the Nelsons, and that's got to be the 10 high. Definitely the 10 high. Definitely the Nelsons. If I said it backwards earlier, I'm sorry. This is it's okay. You can detect the oak. You can pick up the sweet corn, and maybe they got a little rye in it. I doubt it's 100% corn, but they might be doing it as cheap as possible. It would be allowed. You can make 100% corn bourbon. May not taste good. May have to add flavoring to it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. But I doubt they're doing that. But just kind of watery, bland, dull. You can tell it's tweaked with the vanilla because I got that in my mind. You see, I know what the label says. But I mean, it's fine. I give it a B, like a 8. Let's go with a B minus, 8.0 out of 10. Just barely good. But it comes under the line. You know, it just barely makes it across the line into good. You say, well, after all, it's only $16.27 for a doggone handle. Yeah, I know. There's a reason it's that price. And there's a reason Nelson's Green Brier is its price, $28.99. Now, like I said, Walmart had it for $10. That was a great deal. Of course, I took advantage of it. Why wouldn't I? I can show you a deal I got yesterday at another local store, $4.99 for a 1.5 liter. Is it anything great? I doubt that. But I bet it's a lot better than $4.99 for a liter and a half. Wasn't planning on buying it, but I wasn't going to turn it down. All right, so Nelson's, not the greatest thing, but it does come into the 90s. I go 9.3 on it. Other people would laugh at that, say, nah, man, it's only 2-year age. It's not even straight whiskey. It doesn't claim to be. Who knows? If you think that's an A, you're crazy. Well, maybe I'm crazy. I don't think so. If you think I'm gaslighting you, you're crazy. All right. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to check the label now, and it's going to have the right letter on it, and it does. So like I said, it wasn't going to be a challenge, and it was not a challenge. Does 10 high stand a chance? No. Does it compete against most other bourbons I have? No, it doesn't. In fact. But the people writing the reviews on Walmart, they're saying they like it. But their immediate answers are adding cola to it. It's like, well, I add Pepsi Cola. It's really good. Yeah, okay, because that's what it exists for. It does not exist for any other reason. It's immediate mixer and a cheap mixer. Fine. There's a purpose for those things, like a Mardi Gras parade party. People are going to waste all your stuff, so why not put out the cheap stuff? They're going to drink it anyway, especially since it's free. So, heck, this one you'd save, because that wouldn't last 10 minutes at the, they're going to grab that first. If you have a Mardi Gras party or something like that, they're going to do that. All right. So, all right, 10i, you have your place. I wouldn't buy it again. I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you're curious, you say, I don't mind $16.27. I'll take a chance on what's going to hurt. It ain't going to hurt anything. I like the label the texture of the label. It's like fine grain sandpaper. It has like a little sandiness to it. And I don't know what they put on there. And then the 10 high part has like this embossed, like plastic coating thing. So it is kind of nice. The glass bottle's nicer. So now, anybody wants to see what I got yesterday for $4.99, I'll show you going once. I'll show you going twice. And going. Okay, well, you'll see it one day when I get to it. Coming up in its category. So What's the next bourbon taste challenge, which I'm thinking I'm gonna do tomorrow? Another Sazerac product. May as well go Sazerac to Sazerac, right? But they got their little affiliates, Barton and everything. And the next one is from Barton. It's called Very Old Barton, which came out from my research in 1964, because that's when the trademark was first used. It's kind of like a low medium brand. It's not like it's like below premium, what they call below premium. It's not a low end, but it's between low end and premium, like Miller High Life is. Miller High Life beer is considered a below premium, although the price these days doesn't seem to reflect that. But you know what I mean? Cheaper, but not the cheapest. That would be Milwaukee's Best. That's their really low end. Although you could argue it tastes better than Miller High Life. I don't know if that's really true. But anyway, so Very Old Barton, 86 proof. I've had the 80 proof, which I think is a green label. Bought a half-size bottle in Kentucky. It's very common in Kentucky. I've got the red label, the 86 proof, age, I think it's 3 years. Kentucky straight bourbon, might be sour mash. I found that in Pascagoula, Mississippi, actually. I've never seen it in Louisiana ever. I was surprised to see it in Pascagoula. And they had a big bottle, too. I could have gotten it cheaper per ounce, but I said, I don't need that much of it. And they had the white label, bottle and bond. So we know they have those three. The regular 80 proof, the 86, which is elevated, and then the bottle and bond, which would be I think their high-end version, high-end of the low range. You know what I mean? No, I mean, are there other Very Old Barton brands out there, or variants out there? Well, no, in Sazerac, there probably are, because they tend to put out a lot of stuff that's not listed. So you might say, hey, I live in Perry, Kentucky, towns are, and they have a Very Old Barton cinnamon flavored. I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. So it is what it is. All right. Thanks for watching, and try to see you tomorrow. Oh, what's coming up after Very Old Barton? I have another Sazerac whiskey. What is that one? Stedman Select. I have that one. That's a Kentucky straight sour mash bourbon whiskey. No games with that one. No, they're not playing any games like adding flavoring or any funny stuff. But that one can be found pretty cheap. I got it for $18.99 for a big bottle. The big handle, glass, but they don't do plastic. Stedman Select, no plastic. When it first came out, I thought it was a Walmart brand, but it isn't. I've seen it at Total Wine and More. Then they reformulated it about 3 years ago. Came out with the new Stedman Select, which I've not tried. I think it's 90 proof, actually. Still see it at Walmart every time I go. Looking over there, they got it. Somebody's buying it. Although they use one of Sazerac's aliases, IWA Distilling Company Limited. I don't know why they do that. And then I think that it's driving nuts. Let's see. Oh yeah, another store label, store brand, Winn-Dixie Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey. Winn-Dixie, that's a grocery chain. Yes, they have their own brand of liquor. WD Liquors, Winn-Dixie Liquors. Actually quite popular. For utilitarian purposes, people buy it to have like a party, a crawfish boil, and they'll have the Winn-Dixie gin, or if they have some real strong drinkers, the 100 proof gin, 100 proof vodka, or the regular vodka, or the gin, or the Canadian whiskey, or the, like I said, Kentucky bourbon whiskey, or the Silver or gold rum, silver or gold tequila. There's no brandy though, for some reason. I guess brandy's not too popular these days, so they don't put it out. They don't bother with it. They have their own cheap brandy that they sell anyway. It's called Hartley. That's always at Winn-Dixie. Glass too, no plastic, no plastic, no plastic. Now there's a new one from the same outfit, a new one that they got at Total Wines called like Red Alert or something, Red Jewel or something like that. It's all red label, same bottle as Hartley. Looks like Hartley. Probably is Hartley under another alias. I thought about buying it, but I was like, nah. Every time I buy these brandies, and I know where they're coming from, they always taste the same. They just repackage in my mind. They're repackaging it under different names. No problem with that, but I mean, I don't need to keep buying the same thing under a different label. There's not much sense with that. All right. Well, y'all take care and try to do some duo beer. I think might do some duo beer tastings today. Yes. All right. Well, y'all take care now. Thanks for watching. Cheers to you, Nelson's Green Brier.